Hey everyone, Graham here from the recordingrevolution.com, and I'm coming to you from my lovely hotel room here in Los Angeles, California. So I'm in town for the NAMM Show 2014, which is kind of irrelevant to you if this is past the date, but it should be a great show nonetheless. And even though I'm on the road, I wanted to do a video for you for Songwriting Month. I was going to show this to you in the recording month next month, but I do this during the songwriting process anyway, the way my workflow is. So this might be helpful to you as you're starting to finish writing and demo your songs. We're talking about that transition into getting your songs prepped before you record. So this is kind of my workflow for setting up guide tracks, okay? You can call them scratch tracks, you can call them guide tracks, you can call it a template, whatever it is you want to call it. It's the same thing. It's the thing that sets you up to be able to record everything. It's your map, okay? I just talked about click tracks on the blog earlier this week. So if you missed that article, go over to therecordingrevolution.com and read why smart songwriters use click tracks. Everybody hates on click tracks. It's ridiculous to me because they're the most helpful tool for all musicians, and you don't have to be a robot. Just use it as a tool to keep time because you're not that good at keeping time anyway. But what I've got in my Pro Tools session here is a very classic example of how all my songs for me or for any client, if I'm recording them, will start. You're going to have a click track, and that's just your metronome track. In Pro Tools, it's an auxiliary track. I set the tempo to what felt comfortable for me for the song, and all you do is hear it doing its thing. Let me mute everything else, this is what you hear. Boring, but it keeps time. You can make it eighth notes. This is quarter notes, okay? And then what I do is I set up a scratch guitar and scratch vocal for most cases. Since this is a guitar-driven song, it's my own music, so I'm just going to grab my acoustic guitar and I'm going to lay down one pass of the guitar riff from beginning to end alongside the click. So I just do it a live take. Usually, if I screw up, I can punch. I think there's one punch in here at the end because maybe I screwed up the ending or I didn't know how long the ending was going to go for. So I get an idea of what the guitar riff should be doing and I lay that out. This is just going to try to give me the basic arrangement, okay? I want the drummer or the bass player or maybe me later on if I forget, I want to capture the full arrangement of the song. How long is the chorus? How long is the verse? What does that bridge section look like? What was the feel? Does that second chorus pick up in intensity? I want that all to just be captured live in time in my DAW. So I do that with acoustic guitar. So this is guitar scratch track here. Right? And then I lay down a scratch vocal. Because for me, I always try to track drums first if there's going to be a full kit of drums. So I have a drummer scheduled to come in on a certain day. He needs something to play along with. I don't have a live band for him to be playing with. I have a small space. I'm going to be playing the role of the engineer, so I don't really want to be playing guitar and singing for him live. I just want to be engineering. So I go ahead and record what would be a guide track for him anyway. I capture that. So I get not only the guitar and the tempo, but the vocal. He needs to know where is he in the song, and the vocals help you do that, right? So I know that he's hearing this little riff thing here. I am a shell. Now he knows he's in the verse because he's not going to be looking at a screen like I will. He's going to be listening. So obviously, this is very basic, but again, basics are critical. That scratch vocal is his guide. So I go ahead and sing through the song. When I'm tracking this, I've just half written lyrics. Some might change. They might be perfect. I'm reading them off of a computer screen, just trying to get the lyrics in there, get the melody, get the phrasing, and sort of use the scratch vocal to kind of tell him or the rest of us where the song's going. Do I build? Do I have a little more intensity? Is my dynamic up or down? Nothing crazy. I just sing the song. Okay, so again, one pass of a guitar, one pass of the vocal throughout the song. Now here's the other critical element is I go ahead and I lay down markers. If you're in Pro Tools, you want to do this, make sure that your marker track is engaged up here on the left. You can sort of choose what you want to see. you want to see markers? Do you want to see tempo? These are different rulers. A meter ruler, if those aren't visible, it's because they're not checked. You want to make sure that the marker ruler is checked. A lot of DAWs have a very similar thing where you can insert markers. So go find your markers and go ahead and do this no matter what DAW you're in. And you should be on a grid because you should have tracked to a click track. Okay, this doesn't mean your music is going to sound robotic. I'll have to say this a bunch of times, but the grid helps you for a lot of other reasons, mostly for arranging, moving parts around, knowing where you are in the song. It's a lot easier when you've got a grid. So I go ahead in grid mode and I go ahead and I insert a marker, and I drag one here right where the guitar starts, and I call that intro. And then I have another marker here. I'm very specific with my markers. This one says verse intro because the music does change from this little riff here. This song has a big sort of full band intro, and then the intro changes to this riff intro. And then I have V1 as my verse 1. I am a shell. We're in the verse now. And I keep that until we get to the chorus. Sticks and stones are tearing me in two until you start breaking me down. Right? In the chorus, I always label one called interlude if there's anything that's not the chorus after the chorus before the verse. Right. That's not the verse, but the verse is here. I step into light. Now we're back into a verse. You got another chorus comes. Anytime it changes, you want to put a marker. This is for you visually as the engineer, just to know, yeah, that's right, something's about to come in 2 bars. So here's a break coming after this chorus. Sword, shield, and armor. Right, it's going to be a big break here, so now I know, yeah, do that thing on the toms. Clunk, clunk, doo-ga-da-boom, so I can help direct his drum performance there. And I've got a marker here called build, because in my mind, it's still the same bridge section, this break section, but now I want his drums and the intensity and the dynamic to build into this down chorus. So I just put a marker to remind me that I want it to build here. So maybe those hits be bigger. That's just, again, a reminder for me arrangement-wise. Then I have one here called chorus down. Could have guessed what's going to happen here. It's a chorus that's down. All right, and then a marker here called back in. Wow, here we go. Will you start breaking me down to my bones? You fill me with spirit, sword, shield, and armor, sticks and stones. We're back in it. That's why it's called back in. And if you have an outro, you can have one that's called outro. If you have one that's the halftime, sometimes if the field changes, put a marker there. That's where I want to go halftime or double time, or a marker where I want a whole instrument to drop out. Sometimes I have drums out, drums in, bass out. You can put as much detail in these markers as you want. The idea is simply this, that this is going to be the session that you actually record your entire song in. And these tracks, these 3 tracks, a metronome or a click track, which is going to keep your tempo, your scratch instrument, could be guitar, piano, synth, your scratch vocal, which is going to guide you through the song, and then having all those markers in place, this is a beautiful guide track for being able to lay down the entire arrangement. In the end, all 3 of these tracks are going to disappear. There is going to be no click track in the final mix unless that's some new genre you've created called click, dance, something. There's going to be no scratch guitar because it was messy. I didn't even choose the right mic or work on mic placement. I just grabbed the microphone and put it in front of my guitar. The guitar wasn't even tuned. It has old strings. This is just a scratch, right? I'm going to get rid of it. Same thing with the vocal. Now, this is interesting too, though. Sometimes I have kept few words or phrases of this scratch vocal and a final take for an artist, or even for my own album a couple years ago. I did this where a whole word or phrase I said perfectly, or the emotion was just amazing in the scratch track. So I kept it. So you could keep parts of it if you wanted to. It's like a rough vocal take. But in the end, in theory, all three of these tracks are going to be gone. And what I'm going to be left with is what I've recorded over top of it: drums, new guitars, vocals, everything. And these just served as the guide for all of that. And it's a great way to work if you have to overdub, meaning, like most of us, you're in a bedroom studio or a small home project studio, or you are the band where you can only record one person at a time, or maybe you only have enough mics to record one person at a time. So you do the drummers stuff first, then you do the bass player, then you're doing the rhythm guitars, and you're doing the lead stuff, you're doing the keys, you're doing the vocals, you're doing the harmonies, you're doing all the extra percussion and synth and arranging and strings or whatever, one thing at a time. This can be your bedrock for that. I know this is a very simple concept. Many of you hadn't heard of it, or maybe you're not quite doing it this way. I thought this would give you some insight into how I'm setting up all my songs. They're written, and now they're all in Pro Tools looking like this, so that when I get back from NAMM, I can start tracking some drums here and get to actually recording this album. Hope that helps. Again, this is Graham from therecordingrevolution.com. Subscribe if you like the videos. Head over to the site if you want more free information and my free ebook, which has a ton of great free stuff that might help you make better music in your studio right now. I got to get some sleep because I'm still on East Coast time, and I've got a lot going on the next few days, some awesome meetings. Hope to see some of y'all here at the NAMM show. Take care.